What's up, Cowboys Nation? Welcome back to the channel. If you're a fan of the Dallas Cowboys, you've definitely come to the right place. Today, we've got a lot to talk about. The Dallas Cowboys pulled off a dominant 30-14 win over the Carolina Panthers, but that wasn't the whole story. Along with the victory, we got some heartbreaking news. We got some work of hours with their two-time champion, Trevon Diggs, and they've said we're just likely dealing with a significant injury. We'll dive deep into how that injury could impact the Cowboys and their Super Bowl hopes going forward. And of course, we'll break down the game and the incredible performances from Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, Micah Parsons, and more. This one's going to be a roller coaster, so let's get into it. First off, let's talk about the win. The Cowboys came into this game as the favorites, and they absolutely lived up to the expectations. Coming off a few tough weeks, they needed a win to get back on track and remind the league why they are still one of the most dangerous teams in the NFC, and that's exactly what they did. The Cowboys were in control from start to finish, with a final score of 30-14. But as much as the final score shows dominance, it's important to break down the key moments and players who made this game such a decisive one. Let's start with Dak Prescott. There's no doubt about it. Dak was playing like a man on a mission in this game. It was clear from the opening drive that he was in complete command of the offense. Prescott finished with 276 yards and 3 touchdowns. He looked calm and collected in the pocket, spreading the ball around to multiple targets. But the highlight of the day was that beautiful 52-yard bomb to CeeDee Lamb, who made a spectacular catch and sprinted to the end zone. It wasn't just about the deep ball, though. Prescott was incredibly efficient with his throws, hitting short and intermediate routes while keeping the Panthers' defense off balance. Now, CeeDee Lamb deserves some major recognition here. He's really stepped into that role as the Cowboys' #1 receiver, and his performance in this game was no exception. With over 100 yards and a touchdown, Lamb showed exactly why he's one of the most talented receivers in the NFL. The chemistry between him and Dak continues to grow week by week, and it's starting to look like this duo is one of the best in the league. Lamb's route running, ability to make tough catches in traffic, and the way he can separate from defenders make him a nightmare for opposing secondaries. Then, of course, there's Tony Pollard, who had a great game. Pollard finished with 85 yards rushing and a touchdown, but what stood out the most was his vision and burst through the holes. After some struggles earlier in the season, Pollard seems to be finding his rhythm, and with the offensive line giving him more consistent plays, he's able to get to the second level of the defense and make plays. As we get deeper into the season, Pollard's role will only grow, and the Cowboys will need him to be more of a workhorse back. But credit where credit is due, he looked sharp in this one, and the offense flowed much better with his presence. Speaking of the offensive line, huge credit to them for this game. After a few shaky performances earlier in the season, this group came together and gave Dak Prescott plenty of time to throw. We saw more balanced play from the unit, and they opened up running lanes for Pollard. In games where the offensive line is playing at a high level, Dak can operate at his best. And that's exactly what we saw here. Consistent play from the O-line is key if the Cowboys are going to make a deep playoff run, and this game was a step in the right direction for that unit. But as much as we can talk about the offense, the real story here, and the one that Cowboys fans have to be worried about, is the injury to Trevon Diggs. Diggs has been one of the cornerstones of this Cowboys defense, and losing him for any extended period would be a major blow. Early reports have suggested that Diggs suffered a knee injury during the game, and while we don't have full confirmation yet, the initial signs point to it being potentially severe, possibly a torn ACL. Now, let's take a breath here. These are just early reports. The team hasn't confirmed anything yet, and Diggs is scheduled for an MRI to determine the full extent of the injury. But the fact that he was carted off the field tells you that this might not be something that's just a minor sprain or tweak. If Diggs is out for the season, or even for a significant chunk of time, it would be a massive loss for the Cowboys. Diggs isn't just a solid cornerback, he's one of the best playmaking corners in the league. His ability to lock down top receivers and make game-changing plays like interceptions and pass breakups has been a huge part of the Cowboys' defensive success. Losing him means that the Cowboys' secondary will need to adjust, and the team will have to rely on others to step up in his absence. This chemistry says a lot about Kyle Chapman. Now, let's break down what the Cowboys could do to replace Diggs. The most obvious option is Stephon Gilmore, who has been a steady presence in the secondary this season. Gilmore is a seasoned veteran, and while he's not the same ball hawk as Diggs, he's more than capable of playing at a high level. His experience and ability to play both on the outside and in the slot make him a versatile option. Then there's DaRon Bland, who has shown flashes of potential but still needs to develop consistency. Bland could take on more responsibility, and it'll be interesting to see if he can fill Diggs' shoes as a playmaker. Finally, there's Jordan Lewis, who could also see increased snaps. Lewis has been solid when called upon, but hasn't been asked to carry a huge workload. If Diggs is out, it may be time for Lewis to step into a more prominent role. But beyond just the corners, the Cowboys' defense will have to lean on its pass rush and front seven. Defensive coordinator Dan Quinn has shown time and time again that he can adapt to injuries and make things work. Losing Diggs might put more pressure on Micah Parsons and the defensive line to create more pressure and force quicker throws from opposing quarterbacks. Parsons, of course, is one of the best in the league, and he showed it in this game, recording 2 sacks and constantly disrupting the Panthers' offense. But the rest of the defensive line will have to step up too. DeMarcus Lawrence, Osa Odigizua, and others will need to play even more aggressively to help make up for any weaknesses in the secondary. The real challenge will be how well the Cowboys can adjust in the secondary if Diggs is out long term. We've seen teams lose key players in the past and still manage to win. But it's going to take a full team effort for the Cowboys to maintain their defensive dominance without Diggs. Fortunately, they've got a strong defense overall, with guys like Malik Hooker and Donovan Wilson providing help over the top and in run support. But the fact remains, losing Diggs changes the dynamic of this defense, and it will be interesting to see how the team adapts moving forward. Looking ahead, the Cowboys need to stay focused, regardless of what happens with Diggs' injury. They've got the talent to continue winning, but they'll need to make sure they stay healthy. Dak Prescott needs to continue playing at a high level, and the offensive line must continue to protect him and open up lanes for Pollard. The defense needs to rally around the loss of Diggs and show that they can still be dominant without their star corner. There's no doubt this team is still capable of making a deep playoff run, but if Diggs is out for a long period of time, the team's Super Bowl aspirations might take a bit of a hit." End quote. So Cowboys Nation, what are your thoughts on this game and Diggs' injury? How do you think the team will adapt if Diggs is out for a while? Do you think the Cowboys can keep rolling despite the loss of one of their best defenders? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and make sure you ring the bell so you don't miss any updates. We'll be following up with more news as we learn more about Trevon Diggs' injury and the team's response moving forward. Until next time, stay positive, stay strong, and as always, go Cowboys.